What's up, everyone? Let's talk about fear. So, when we get into fear and you become afraid of something or you are fearful, it is because of three reasons. It is because your stability, your survival, or your security in some way, shape, or form is threatened. So, that is when fear becomes activated and you can start going into different mind frames, or it may be in a physical, it may be, like the stability, security with yourself. So what happens whenever we go into these feelings of being extremely fearful and you let it take over you? You become very ungrounded. You're very fidgety. You can't sit still. You become very fearful of anything and everything. You overthink everything in a very fearful manner. And what happens when you worry and the emotions of worrying and fear, that energetic energy transfer, when you put that out into the world, because that's what you're doing, you're transferring that out. When you're saying it, talking it, expressing it, that's just telling the world that, that's what you want to experience more of. So you got to keep these things in mind. This is all a part of it. But anyway, the root of fear is simple. The root of fear is to keep us alive. Anything more than that is our brains going into this overplay mode where we're just going into just too far into it. We're letting the fear take over instead of just realizing that, this fear kicks in because you're next to a cliff. This fear kicks in because you do need stability for your job. This fear kicks in because you realize that if you lose someone, it's because you actually love them. And then instead of just recognizing these things in the very forefront of it, people take these fears and then dissect them. And that is where you get all your issues and all this emotional baggage, and then you bring it with you, and then you transfer it on when you talk to others, and then people can feel that. It's just not good for anybody. So at the end of the day, that is the root cause. It's just to keep you alive. And fear is so much a part of our lives that it's in everything we do. And I've just now recently learned this, that fear is an aspect of everything, in everything. It doesn't matter how big or small. It doesn't matter if I ask you if you're afraid of something, you tell me no. You still know that the fear of something bad is always there. And that's just a part of life. Life is accepting the good and the bad and still choosing to look at the good with high hopes, with confidence, So fear really is a part of our lives every day. You could get on a bike and fall, and that could be it for you. And that fear of falling again on your bike could stop you from wanting to go ride your bike ever again. And that's where the conditioning comes into play. So just like Pavlov's dog, I believe that's how you pronounce it, right? Pavlov's dog. It's a psychology study, and it was pretty much a study done on a dog, and they used the noise. It's a stimulant. It's a sensory stimulant, and they use the noise to be in contrast with meat, to be a part and coordinate with the meat. So when he got fed, so the dog would just salivate, the glands would happen. So that can happen with anything. Songs you hear, whatever, when you really love somebody, you hear that song, get activated, you're with them still, it's still in good terms. Maybe it's bad terms now, and then you get sad off that song, Depending on your conditioning to it is how you're going to respond. And once you realize that you're responding in a fearful way, you can break it, you can change it. So even the news, for example, if you heard the news intro, you might just have all these fearful ideas because you're afraid of what the news is constantly putting out. So when you hear the news, the first thing you think, downtown of whatever place you live in, and then you're just thinking of everything bad that could happen, even if it could be a positive event. It could be a parade, it could be a giveaway, it could be a huge donation. You never know. And then just because of over time, majority of the news that you watched was negative, in your mind, when you hear the dun-dun-dun or whatever sound is made in the very beginning, that's where you've conditioned it. So when you see these conditions and you recognize it, you become aware, you realize what you realize, you can break these cycles, you can break these things. And the way that you break these things is to step away from them. You have to realize that, once again, that fear is just here to keep you alive. Nothing more, nothing less. You know, it's for a reason. And to be able to break the cycle of being afraid and being that constant fear is you have to take yourself out of it. You have to separate yourself enough to honor yourself. You're honoring yourself by taking yourself out of it so you can calm down, you can refocus, you can ground, you can become grounded, you can become clear. But with all that chaotic energy and you keeping it on you, you're not going to be able to come clear. You're not going to be able to think clearly. You're not going to be able to act clearly. You're not going to be able to be yourself. So just a reminder that fear is just here to keep you alive, and it's all love. Life is all the emotions. It's an experience, and I'm grateful that I have fear. It keeps me alive. So that's love, everyone. Always love. Take it easy.